Well, hi there, folks. Welcome to the program. This, of course, is Stinchfield, the podcast. Today on the program, I want to dig real deep into the Biden Autopen scandal. So I've now gotten the inside scoop. How did I get it? Because I've got the videos of Ron Klain and other top Biden deputies who explain some of their involvement in the Autopen scandal, which amounted to a coup. I mean, they hijacked the Oval Office from Joe Biden, who was virtually sleeping on the job. So we're going to go through the Autopen scandal. We're going to go through their words, and I'm going to let it play out. I'm going to let you hear these depositions, see their faces as they're explaining what was going through their mind through it all. This, as President Trump has said, you know what? Null and void when it comes to all of his Autopen signatures and executive orders, pardons, all of them thrown out because Joe Biden knew nothing about them. Before we get to that, though, we've got some breaking news to tell you about. The pipe bomber from D.C. that allegedly put pipes outside Republican and Democrat headquarters. You'll see him walking here right outside the DNC headquarters, where, by the way, Kamala Harris was just a few feet away. Nobody knew about that. Nobody said anything about that. I've heard nothing from Kamala Harris after this arrest by the FBI, but apparently they kicked the agents that were on the pipe bomb case off. And when I say they, that's Kash Patel and Dan Bongino said, hey, let's take a hard look at this. Now, I have spoken to Kash Patel in the past about this. Before he became FBI director, there was a real sincere concern that somehow this was a government inside job. And I'm still wondering, was it a government inside job? We're going to get a news conference a little bit later on today. Excuse me. A little bit later on today that should answer some questions. A suspect has been named. I'm not going to name him. My sources haven't confirmed that to me yet, but NBC News is naming the suspect. Apparently some bail bondsman is what the word is out there. But we shall see what his ties are to all of this. Quite frankly, I'm skeptical going into this news conference. All right. So my buddy, John Solomon, went on War Room this morning and explained what the FBI had found. And so I'm going to play that for you here in just a second before we get into the Biden Autopen scandal. I'm going to play you the interview that my buddy John Solomon did because he's on top of this stuff like nobody's business. Before we do that, though, let me tell you about my friends over at Patriot Mobile. PatriotMobile.com/Grant. This is about a parallel economy, but even more than that, it's great cell phone service. You choose what network you want to be on, so you're not going to sacrifice your cell phone service. 100% U.S.-based customer service. Switching is so easy, it literally takes just minutes to switch your phone. Right now, through the holidays, they're offering up a free smartphone. Use the promo code GRANT. Tell them Grant Stinchfield sent you when you call in. They've got some great deals and great specials running. Talk to them about what is right for you. But now's the time to switch. You know, if you're going to make a New Year's resolution, stop supporting the woke agenda of the left. Stop giving leftist companies like Verizon and AT&T and T-Mobile money. Get on board with Patriot Mobile. PatriotMobile.com/Grant. 972-PATRIOT is the number. 972-PATRIOT. Again, use that promo code GRANT and tell them, of course, that I sent you. All right, with that, folks, I said we get the show started.
Uncensored and unapologetic. This is Stinchfield. Here's your host, Grant Stinchfield.
All right, welcome, everybody. If you are watching, well, of course you're watching because you hear me saying it. I would like you to hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, like button, and let's get this podcast spreading like wildfire. I'm going to jump in to the Biden Autopen scandal here momentarily. We're going to hear directly from the key players, Biden's chief of staff, who basically had hijacked the country, in my opinion. We're going to hear directly from them, the doctors involved in all of this. The mainstream media won't play you these tapes that I have from the congressional depositions. I will play them for you, so stay tuned for that. I do want to get to the bottom. Well, I don't think we're going to get to the bottom of the pipe bomb. I'll call it a scandal because that's really what it is. I don't think I can get to the bottom of it today. I need to hear this news conference a little bit later on that the FBI will be holding. I'm sure Kash Patel will have some answers. But just to remind you, these are the pictures released by the FBI. They now say they know who this is. I'm skeptical of the arrest. I'm skeptical of anything behind it, and I haven't even heard anything yet. This is the alleged pipe bomb that was literally left outside. And folks, when I tell you left outside, I mean right there out in the open. And so what's so strange about this is that there was no sense of urgency. It's as if the FBI knew it was fake. They had people walking by. The woman who called it in had ties to law enforcement. She gives a perfect law enforcement style description of the pipe bomber. All kinds of discrepancies surrounding this. So we shall see what Kash Patel had found out. But with that, let's hear from my buddy John Solomon, who was on War Room today. Where is that? I do have it, don't I? Oh, man. Do I not? Maybe I don't. I thought I had the John Solomon interview. Let me just see here really, really, really quickly if I have it. This is it. Let me see if I can get it for you real quick, okay? Folks, I'm so sorry about this, but I want you to think about this. As you think about the pipe bomber and who would have been behind it, Kamala Harris is inside the DNC headquarters for, I don't know, hours. There's no rush to get her out. She didn't seem to care about this at all. And yet the FBI goes virtually silent. They can't figure out who it is until, as John Solomon said, they change the FBI agents, okay? And that is important. They changed the agents on the case, and I think that was all the difference needed. All right, here's the interview.
Well, as I mentioned, I think it was just before Thanksgiving on your show, I thought there would be an arrest this week. They were zeroing in on a gentleman whom they arrested this morning in Northern Virginia. And the way this case was cracked was about a month or 6 weeks ago. Bongino, who was the lead on it, and Patel decided to take the old agents off the case and put a new team on it. Now, there was a little resistance, as there always is in the FBI, to any form of change. But the new team came in. They applied some new ideas, some new technologies, and some of the evidence that was sitting right in front of them with fresh eyes was followed, and it was able to be led to this gentleman who they arrested a little bit ago. We don't know much about his ideology or his intentions or his motives yet. And one of the things that FBI officials stressed with me this morning is that this is really the beginning. The arrest is the beginning of trying to understand how this operation was conducted, who's behind it, whether there are more conspirators or whether this is a lone wolf. Still all of that to be determined, but a really extraordinary effort. Almost 5 years later, with a fresh set of eyes and a different approach, the FBI that couldn't solve the case for 4.5 years solves it. Very much like the way the Charlie Kirk investigation occurred in the first few hours. There were a lot of FBI agents in old guard that didn't want to put the suspect's photo out, but Kash Patel and Bongino insisted that was going to be key to getting the father to flip, and they put the photo out, the father flips, and of course you get that arrest as we see. What you're seeing is a different mentality in the FBI, and that plays out in two different ways. First, you see successes that we haven't seen in a while, lots of arrests, cases solved that had not been solved for a long time, other cases which could have gone on for months being solved in 33 hours like Charlie Kirk's assassin. The second part is it results in a lot of whining from FBI people who think they know what's better. And you see that even in the Miranda Devine story earlier this week. You've got these grousers and grouchers because the truth of the matter is Donald Trump ordered Patel and Bongino to break glass at the FBI. They broke glass. And now the FBI is doing things differently. They're succeeding, but there are people who want to focus on the whining and crying, not actually the success of what the FBI has been doing. The way they solved this case was fresh thinking.
And fresh thinking is what it's all about, right? I mean, when it comes to solving what I would call a cold case, you're 5 years later. The problem is I don't know if the FBI agents originally on the case wanted it solved. I think you could have had this case solved a lot earlier than this. I think maybe there was a concerted effort to whether cover for whoever was involved. And I am eager to hear what comes out about this. Was there any government involvement in this? I would expect that would have been leaked already if that was going to come out. They've leaked the name, so somebody close to this case has already leaking to NBC of all places. That tells you all you need to know about the culture inside the FBI, that if the name of the suspect in this case is going to be leaked, they leak it to NBC. Where's their allegiance? Why wouldn't you leak it to me or John Solomon at Just the News? He's the guy you should be leaking it to. Maybe Breitbart or the Gateway Pundit. I don't know, but not NBC News. So that tells you the culture. I believe there's a cover-up involved in all of this. And Kash Patel and them have to get to the bottom of it. But make no mistake on this. The mainstream media despises Kash Patel. The deep state hates Kash Patel even more because he is breaking glass at the FBI. I understand that we don't have the indictments that we want yet. They're starting the process. It's taking longer than we expected. We're almost a year into this presidency, and yet we don't have much accountability for the coup attempt that was played out on America. But there is things happening. There is signs of movement. You can't deny that. And so the fact that they're upending investigations inside the FBI is going to make many in that place very, very angry. And of course, all the mainstream media does is try to tell you that Kash Patel's in trouble. Who else do they throw into this boat? Pete Hegseth. Oh, Pete Hegseth's in trouble. The president isn't happy with Pete. All of that's bullshit. Well, the reality is that President Trump is very happy with both Hegseth and Kash Patel. I know this because I was talking to those close to President Trump over the holiday week last week about these very things. And I know for a fact he's happy with them. Would we like to see movement going faster? Yes. There's no doubt about that. Now, speaking of people who need to be held accountable, there is no doubt in my mind that those running the Autopen scandal, the Autopen scheme, the Autopen hijacking of the Oval Office are some of those that need to be held accountable. So what do we do to make sure that happens? One, you got to get rid of these radical judges that are blocking the way. You've got to get rid of deep staters who are blocking the way. And you've got to unleash Kash, Pam Bondi, and of course, I would say even throw Tulsi Gabbard and the intelligence community into all of this, John Ratcliffe at CIA. They've got to be able to do their thing. But I want you to hear firsthand from the key players in this. And I'm going to play the audio for you on that. Before I do it, let me just tell you about my friends over at the Wellness Company, twc.health/Grant. Use the promo code GRANT for 10% off. The TheraBlue is now my favorite product. Well, the Parasite Cleanse was 100% my favorite product. I went through a total parasite detox thanks to the Wellness Company. My skin started to clear up. My mental acuity started to become more in focus. I think I was suffering from parasites. Something like 30 million Americans do. I eat a lot of sushi. Good chance I had parasites. I've got a pet. Goose is sleeping over there. If you have a pet, good chance you've got parasites. So that is one of my favorite products. But the TheraBlue is fabulous. This is the pain gel that is peptide-based that goes so deep into your joints and muscles that you are going to get relief like you have never had before. So I want you to go to the Wellness Company, check out the Parasite Cleanse, check out their prescription medications like ivermectin. They will prescribe ivermectin to you, all made in the United States. That's so important. Probably the best made prescription drugs you can get at the Wellness Company. twc.health/Grant. Use that promo code GRANT for 10% off. All right, let's get to it. I want to hear these clowns of Joe Biden and what they were actually up to. Okay, so let's listen.
Was the number one issue in the campaign the president's fitness or his age?
Did you ever see President Biden in a wheelchair?
I do not recall ever seeing President Biden in a wheelchair.
And new information now on the people in his inner circle and how the cover-up actually operated.
Senior aides that worked here until just a couple months ago, the beginning of this year, manipulating an ailing president for their own gain.
How much were you paid for your role in the campaign in 2024?
Just a little bit short of $4 million.
I'm sorry, how much?
$4 million.
You believe that the president should stay in the race. Your own financial stake in the matter was a factor in any way in your advice to the president.
I don't believe that.
And when it comes
$4 million he was paid. And they're giving advice to stay in the race. $4 million. People were paid off to cover up Joe Biden's incompetence. This had become clear over the series of depositions that were carried out and conducted.
to President Biden's decline, the official word from Biden world about all these news stories is that nothing has been revealed this week that shows that President Biden was anything but an effective president.
Yes, I noticed that he was aging in terms of his physical condition. I noticed that, he shuffled more.
That he has more stumbling over words and gaffes than he did at the beginning of the term.
His rhetorical skills were not as strong as they had been, and his speeches were less effective, I thought.
We talked about age. We knew it was an issue, and we tried to design a strategy.
We had a discussion at the senior advisor level about whether the president should have a cognitive exam.
Flashback now to the legacy.
So I want you to think about this. When you think about what they were up to, okay? Should he have a cognitive exam? Well, if you're going to cover up his mental acuity, you can't let him have a cognitive exam. So that wasn't going to happen, because if it comes out that he's mentally incapacitated, you can't run a coup. So what they quietly do was start working this Autopen. While Joe Biden slept, took naps, ate pudding in the basement like he was at an old folks home, they get that Autopen cooking. And all the while, all the way up really until the very end, until the moment he stepped out of the race, when he realized the pressure was too great, the media covered for this guy.
Now to the legacy media's complete denial of the president's cognitive decline.
Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden is the best Biden ever.
His mental acuity is great. It's fine. It's as good as it's been over the years.
He is sharp. He is on top of things.
Do you regret saying that President Biden had a mental acuity? He had a sharpness to him.
I said what I believe to be true.
And you think he was as sharp as you?
I said I had not seen decline. And I hadn't.
He is.
I want you to think about that and think about her face there. You think he's as sharp as you. Now, I will say that I don't think that Elizabeth Warren has dementia. I don't think she's very sharp. Her politics are so far out there that the only way you can believe in the things she believes in is if you're dumb. But I don't think that she is, she has dementia or she's mentally incapacitated by any means. Her face shows you that she doesn't think that either, but she did think Joe Biden was. Now, remember the guy, this is one of the top culprits of running a coup when he tipped off the Chinese that, hey, if we start a war or you start a war against us or the president retaliates against you, I'm going to tell you about it. I'm going to tip you off. The height of treason. This guy is the one that really needs to be hauled in, questioned, and ultimately prosecuted.
Just fine. How people interpret that is up to them.
We're watching the testimony of this woman here, Annie Tomasini. She's the former senior advisor to President Joe Biden. She was the third person set to appear before James Comer's committee. She has now taken the fifth. There is now a pattern of key Biden confidants seeking to shield themselves from criminal liability for this potential conspiracy.
So Why do you take the Fifth Amendment? Now, it is everyone's right to take the Fifth Amendment, and in a court of law, it is not a presumption of guilt. But remember, the court of public opinion and the court of law have very different standards. We're still allowed opinions. Just because you take the Fifth doesn't mean that I have to automatically grant you the stance that you may be innocent or anything like that. I can still pass judgment on you. I'm not a juror. I'm a talk show host. And so these people taking the Fifth, to me, on the grounds that they do not want to incriminate themselves, tells me that there's something incriminating about their behavior. That's a common sense assessment. It may not be the legal thing to do in a court of law. I'm not allowed to do that if I'm a juror. But again, I'm not a juror. So I can use my common sense. I can use my critical thinking to say, if you have a pattern of all these people taking the Fifth Amendment, something criminal was going down.
To lie about the president's health.
The advice of counsel, I must respectfully decline to answer based upon the physician-patient privilege and in reliance on my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
Let the record reflect that Dr. O'Connor has invoked the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Dr. O'Connor, did you ever believe the president was unfit to execute his duties as president?
And we can tell you that he will have the same answer with respect to any questions that are asked.
Did any
That's Joe Biden's doctor. His doctor takes the Fifth Amendment. Was there any question that he was unfit for office? Silence. I take the Fifth. What's incriminating about saying no? What's incriminating about giving your opinion? Unless you had told others inside the White House at a high level, I don't think he's fit for office. To me, that seems like the likely scenario. There were conversations about Joe Biden not being fit for office. This is why they're taking the Fifth. If none of those conversations happened, there is no reason to take the Fifth Amendment. None. And if those conversations happened and you were arguing for Joe Biden, saying he's got a mental acuity that's sharp as a knife, well, then you don't need to take the Fifth there either. And that is a common sense, critical thinking conclusion, okay? It should be your conclusion. It's the public's conclusion if they ever get to see this stuff. But they don't, because the media doesn't play these tapes for them.
Elected official or family member of President Joe Biden execute the duties of the presidency? Did Joe Biden, a member of his family, or anyone at the White House ever instruct you to lie regarding his health?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
And if that wasn't shocking enough.
Listen, they didn't even use the standard, I don't remember. I've gone through so many depositions over my years in TV, from the NRA days to the voter and election stuff that I got all caught up in. There is a time I used I don't remember, talking about something that happened 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I don't remember. You're not going to perjure yourself if you say, I don't remember. But the Fifth? Now, these were all civil cases that I was giving depositions in. I would imagine, maybe if there's a lawyer watching, I think you could probably still take the Fifth Amendment in a civil case under the grounds that you don't want to incriminate yourself there. That could ultimately be used against you someplace else. I wasn't taking the Fifth Amendment for anything because I didn't do anything wrong. And in fact, I stand by every one of my actions in all of those things and basically have been vindicated after all of them. And this is what they do. They take the Fifth Amendment. Did anyone ask you to lie? I mean, think about that. Did anyone ask you to lie? I take the Fifth. It's a simple question. I don't even know if there's criminality that could be associated with answering that question, other than lying under oath.
The chief of staff.
Hunter was driving the decision making for the family. He was almost like a chief of staff.
Did you notice an uptick ever when Hunter Biden was around? Yes. Towards the end, I think he was living with the president.
They were lying not just to the public, they were lying to other Democrats.
You know what? Screw you, Jake Tapper. You saw this early on. You knew this early on. Now you're coming out and saying, oh, they were lying. Where were you during the election leading up to all of this craziness, including the first election for Joe Biden when we all knew this was the case with him?
Ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes.
Were you in favor of Hunter Biden getting a pardon?
Yes. Did you ever ask Joe Biden if the allegations regarding his son were true?
No.
Ian Sams, who was the White House spokesperson, interacted with him 2 times. 2 times.
Well, I think it's really important to take the soundbite and understand the context.
How often would you say that you interacted with the president in person?
I interacted with him pretty infrequently. I think I met with the president a handful of times during my tenure in the White House. I've got to say, that doesn't look anything like the president that I know. When I deal with him, he's sharp, he's asking tough questions. That's the President Biden that so many of us experience every single day.
Wait a second. You're saying to the media that you experience it every day. He's sharp, he's tough, and now it turns out you only met with him twice, and you're the deputy press secretary? They lied to us. That was the cover-up. Now, the deputy press secretary lying to the public about that, quite frankly, it's not a crime. It's morally inept. It's bankrupt. The Democrats were I think they secretly wanted Joe Biden because they knew they could make an end run around his power and take power for themselves. But this clown lying to the public, look, he's a political hack. That's what political hacks do. They lie to the public all the time.
You don't think it's missing some context?
I don't.
So it raises serious concerns and serious questions about who was calling shots in the White House. If the White House spokesperson is being shielded from the President of the United States, who was operating the Oval Office?
Age wasn't an issue for you for President Biden?
It was not a concern.
Do you think President Biden was fully in command that night during the debate?
I do believe that he was fully in command that night during the debate.
I knew it was very difficult to get past some of the visual things that were causing people concern about the president's speech.
The voters' concerns about President Biden were wrong?
Yes.
He often would confuse names.
Do you think it got worse as you knew him?
Yes.
Are you sure you're being honest with yourself when you say you have the mental and physical capacity to serve another 4 years? Yes, I am.
I did not have the experience that it took him longer to answer a simple question.
He could stumble. He also stumbled some physically.
What is it, Chief Fake?
It was something that we did not coin. It was something that the media coined.
Did you or did anyone ever verify if the videos you were talking about were in fact cheap fakes?
I believe so.
But there were instances where videos were circulated of President Biden appearing confused or freezing for a moment that were real, correct?
Not that I recall.
She told you this real video of Biden getting lost in an Italian field was fake. Now she's saying, yeah, my White House was broken and I'm switching parties.
And was suffering from a cold that really constrained his voice and constrained his ability to be forceful in the debate.
Do you attribute President Biden's performance that night to him being under the weather?
That's my assumption.
The ability of Medicare for us to be able to negotiate drug prices with the big pharma companies.
Have you ever seen him have a cold or the flu before?
Yes.
Did he ever behave the way that he did during the debate?
Not that I ever saw.
It was clear what he was trying to say.
Dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
It was the people that knew he was cognitively.
You see what I mean? Everybody saw it. Everybody around him now admits they saw it. And I believe part of this is them trying to cover their own tracks, gain favor with the investigators, because we all want the hammer to fall on these people. The Jeff Zients and Ron Klains of the world, these are the ones, Neera Tanden, these are the ones that were way up top, that I believe were calling the shots of the Autopen. So now we get into the Autopen here, which really was an end run around the Constitution, the voters of the United States of America who I don't even think they voted for Joe Biden as president. That election was stolen from President Trump. But if you go under the assumption that they did, these people stole that election then from Joe Biden. Think about it. Biden and crew steal it from Trump. Biden takes office, and then his inner circle steals it from him through the use of the Autopen.
Impaired, and that took over the Autopen. They stole the presidency of the United States.
Do you know who the people who were actually operated the Autopen were?
I do not.
Do you know any of the actual staff who were using the Autopen?
No.
You don't know their names?
No.
Have you never seen a decision memo laying out the breakdown of when the president should hand sign a particular set of documents?
Not prior to prep.
Did he hand sign all executive orders?
He did not. He hand signed many executive orders, but he did not hand sign all executive orders.
Can you read your response?
I approve the use of the Autopen for the execution of all the following pardons. Thanks, Jay-Z.
Did you yourself write this email?
I do not believe I did.
That Autopen.
Wait a second. Jeff Zients is Jay-Z. I approve the use of the Autopen for all these pardons, but Jeff Zients isn't the one who approved the pardons. Joe Biden. It should be JB, not Jay-Z. So, and then he claims he didn't even write the email. So who the freak wrote the email? So this is the place right now where now you're getting a real, it's not even a slippery slope of criminality. It's damn criminal behavior. I honestly think this is subversion at best. Subversion.
Was used excessively, and yet no one can say for certain that Joe Biden was given the orders to use the Autopen.
We've been pretty transparent from the very beginning with providing information as it occurs throughout this process.
That we anticipated that her report was going to come out, and that we didn't feel an entire interview before the Super Bowl talking about classified documents was going to help the cause too much.
I think you can question the validity and the legality of those pardons and executive orders, and that's huge.
But the president is absolutely sharp, fit, on top of his game.
So they're just making up lies to attack the president.
But do you think his mental acuity had declined?
Tells you everything you need to know. You better believe it declined. They stole the Oval Office from the people of America. Sit on that for a little bit. And I ask you, have you seen those? Maybe scrolling on social media, you see a clip here or there. But again, the mainstream media doesn't want to tell you why, because the mainstream media was part of the cover-up, folks. That's the reality of it. I've got more in depth. You want to hear it? I'll play it for you. I want to tell you in a moment about my friends over Augusta Metals. But this, folks, I do know, I know people are commenting right now that the name of the pipe bomber is being released. I have the name of the pipe bomber. I'm just not going to be the one to release it. I don't think it moves us anywhere until we figure out who that person is and why he did what he did. I'm waiting for the news conference today. Everything else is speculation. And even going into the news conference, I'm very skeptical about all of it. All right, more on the Autopen scandal here in just a moment. But before I get into that, I want to tell you about my friends over at Augusta Precious Metals. Listen to me, this is very important, because right now I could tell you that there are real strong indications that gold is going to go to $10,000. If you're not in it now, your portfolio is not protected. So do you know the biggest threat to your retirement is not something that we've even talked about often? It's the increased longevity of Americans, all right? Meaning you're living longer. So default retirement accounts are not lasting as long as we're living. So here's what I want you to do. If you have $50,000 in your retirement account, get instant access to a free 2-minute report from Augusta Precious Metals that reveals the one step that you can take to secure your financial future. Here's what you do. Visit grantlovesgold.com. Visit grantlovesgold.com. It's 2 minutes. Watch the video, folks. You will not regret it. See if you need to take action. The video is going to lead you right down the path where you need to be. You may not. You may be set, but watch the video. It's 2 minutes of your life. Do it. And after, of course, this podcast is finished. Link is in the description here. GrantLovesGold.com. All right, so I've got a little more of this testimony of these Biden confidants.
Was there ever any discussion about distance, having distance being an issue for President Biden to walk or anything like that?
I think that was part of this conversation, just minimizing the steps as we talked about.
Did anybody ever contact you and ask you if the president actually was okay? He was doing okay?
Yes, I can remember, I can't even remember which donor. I can remember getting a call after one of his fundraisers. I can't place who it was, but I took the call, and that person was concerned.
What were they concerned about?
I think he had not performed particularly well, and they were struck by his use of the teleprompter in a smaller setting, which I explained was because we needed to make sure these fundraisers didn't go on too long, and it was hard to keep that discipline absent the words being on the screen. But it was all about, could he win re-election?
Did the donors' concerns, did they attribute those concerns to issues related to age or the perception thereof?
I don't have specific recollection, but yes, that the president's age is the most difficult issue in the context of the re-elect, or one of the most difficult issues.
So it's interesting to hear him explain why they are now using the teleprompter to keep his fundraising events short. In small settings, they were using a teleprompter. That's virtually unheard of in politics. President Trump doesn't need a teleprompter. I've seen him speak in many, many places. He's not using a teleprompter unless it's a big, giant speech and they have a direct message they want to get across. The problem was Joe Biden would ramble, and he would say a lot about nothing. That was a common theme, still is amongst Democrats, by the way. But they wanted to rein him in, so they start using a teleprompter. Well, it's bad form for a president to be seen using a teleprompter all the time, because what it's telling the public, whether they realize it consciously or not, is that this man can't think for himself.
And, his perception at that fundraiser was that he wasn't able to put those perception issues to rest.
But that was my view, was that the best approach for us would be to have lightened his schedule load, and I don't believe I at least ever had success.
And when you say lighten his schedule load, do you mean fewer events in the day? Maybe you can expand on what you mean.
Yeah. Well, what I meant was, sometimes it'd be fewer events a day.
We did have some outsiders at different points in the process. There's a guy named, I think I have it right, Michael Sheehan, who's a speech coach that has worked with President Biden for years. So he would come in towards the end. We had...
If any of my staff is talking about me this way with such depression, such somber sorrow in their voices, such a feeling of defeat, take me out behind the barn and shoot me. Seriously, because I'm done for. I don't want anybody talking about me like this. Look at the attitude of this guy. Slumped over. Now, this was the White House chief of staff to Joe Biden. He's slumped over. If anyone needed to take the Fifth Amendment, this guy needed to. Yet he's not.
Steven Spielberg joins, I think for some sessions, I think around the State of the Union. And Jeffrey Katzenberg was also involved in some of those sessions.
Hollywood they bring in? You think because Hollywood can fake it on the silver screen that they're going to be able to fake it with Joe Biden? Again, this is how dopey they were. But they were trying to be so deceitful, which they ended up being, of course. I mean, it worked for much of it, but it all got exposed. That was the problem here. The use of the Autopen was too easy to see. God bless the Heritage Foundation. You know, they're the ones that broke this story. They're the ones that realized it was the exact same signature on everything, which is virtually impossible. I can't sign my signature the same way every day. I mean, it looks similar, but it's not the same. I don't like to tell people they didn't cover their tracks well enough, but clearly they didn't cover their tracks well enough.
What input did Mr. Spielberg and his
I remember, I think it was Katzenberg, not Spielberg, had concerns about the strength of the president's voice, that he wasn't loud enough. So I think that I remember Katzenberg bringing that forward. They both did weigh in on things like, you know, more casual events and take the tie off, which I wish I could do right now. But
I can tell.
So Steven Spielberg and Katzenberg, you've got Hollywood in there telling the strength of his voice is no good. And that's all they say. Can you imagine how that conversation's actually going down? What's wrong with him, Jeff? He's not speaking. He can't get it out. Something's going on with him. And it's described as, oh, they were concerned with the strength of his voice. You'd love to have been in that room. They all knew it. Listening to all of this, it proves to me what we already knew was they knew he was he was incapacitated mentally, and that's when they struck. That's when they decided to hijack the Oval Office. And this mental incapacitation, by the way, goes back from the day he was sworn in.
You, however, is that I think the key words here, meticulously staged, managed, are accurate representations of what it means to manage a principal. And so when you have a principal, like a member of Congress or a president of the United States, every single minute of their day has to be coordinated, has to be scheduled. And so that is not inconsistent with past practices for presidents or elected officials in my experience.
The bottom line is the team steals the election from Trump. Then they steal the Oval Office from Joe Biden, and they've been busted. Now I want to know who's going to be held accountable. Who is it? And when is it going to happen? And then, of course, who's going to be held accountable for everything that was done to conservatives, specifically President Trump, from the Russian collusion hoax to the election scheme hoax. Every hoax you can imagine they ran on President Trump. Who is going to be held accountable? It sure appears to me that John Brennan, the former director of the CIA, was the head of the snake. He's the guy that's got to fall first. And I think if you put the pressure on him, he will spill the beans. But you got to really put the screws to him because it goes higher than John Brennan. John Brennan was taking cues from somebody else. I believe Obama was at the top of that list as well. You could throw Soros' name around, but he's easy to throw his name around. So that's who we got to be focused on, John Brennan. And then we take down these chief of staffs. We take down everybody that was involved. You take down the former head of the military, and make sure that we get justice, because in the end, that's what we all want, is justice. All right. I want to tell you about this situation. Did you see this pastor? Just switching total gears. Our religion, Christianity in particular, is under attack in America. Okay? You have this pastor who has come out and basically claimed to be transgender. Now, this church that he's in is in Rochester, Massachusetts. And when I tell you they're hijacking religion, how do you think you can have a place of worship where God creates one man and one woman to then create human beings? You think that God is going to accept transgenderism, playing dress up, that somehow you think you're a woman when you're a man, and now you're going to lead a flock? No, I've said this. I think God has a big enough problem with Halloween, where really, I understand it's a fun holiday, and I like celebrating Halloween with the kids and all that stuff. But if you get down to the heart of Halloween, it's a very dark holiday. It's all about dark spirits, and our Lord and Savior is not going to be on board with all the dark spirits. So how do you think he's going to be on board with a pastor preaching to his flock that it's okay to pretend to be someone you are not? It's okay to play dress up. So this is the pastor in question, and I'm going to play it for you from the beginning.
Hold on to that. I'm going to hold you to it. So rarely do I did not get into ministry to talk about myself or my personal life, but sometimes there are things that happen in a pastor's personal life that is going to find its way out into ministry. And so I am inviting you to join me in a season of creative transformation for myself, and I think for all of us. Imagine, so I get to announce with joy that I'm transitioning. I'm affirming and saying to all of you that I am transgender. And so the best way to put this is that I'm not becoming a woman. I'm giving up pretending to be a man.
No, that's not how it works. You're born either a man or a woman. I don't need to tell all of you this. I mean, how often do we have to repeat it? You've got private parts hanging off your midsection, and that makes you a dude, okay? So you're not pretending to be a man. You are now going to pretend to be a woman. So now this preacher man has just lied to his congregation, has turned his back on God and what God says, hey, I make you in the model of me, and you've turned your back on that philosophy. This guy's out of line. And yet, if I was in this church, I'd walk out.
What will change? Thank God you have never chosen me as your pastor based off of my appearance. Amen. I was waiting for that. None of you ever judged me, or that was not part of the intake process of me being your pastor, was because of how my face looked, or my body, or how long my hair is.
You know, this whole podcast is a theme of hijacking. You got the hijacking of the Oval Office. Now you have the hijacking of the church. And all the way down to the individual level, this pastor, if you can even call him that, just literally hijacked his church because the elders here, which I'm sure embrace all of this nonsense, but if they wanted to say, this isn't going to serve us well in this Methodist church, so we want you gone, but they couldn't do that because I'm sure they're all liberals in this Massachusetts church. They'd be so afraid of the outrage that they fired their pastor because he transitioned, so they would never get rid of him for this. So he literally knows this. And now he says, you know what? Well, screw you. I'll do whatever I want with the house of Christ. But I believe this is a fake house of Christ. This Methodist church is not a real church.
Or my clothes, because at the end of the day, we know that clothes are just fibers. They do not carry an anatomy with them.
I think they're more than fibers. Now, I talked to Aubrey Shines about this. He is a bishop, a great guy. He's got a show on Real America's Voice. I thought I would play my interview with him for you so you could hear what a bishop has to say. Someone who is much more in tune with biblical standards than old Stinchfield is, even though I try to live up to them.
That's not a pastor. And again, that's not my opinion. That is from the Holy Writ. Both Old and New Testament, you reach a Torah, you reach a New Testament, you'll find out great. What this individual really is an apostate. Imagine this. God condemns the lifestyle, but some kind of magical way, this individual assumes that he can take XY or XX and change it. He's beyond God. He'll stand, if you are a Christian, he'll stand before God's judgment seat and he'll already be condemned. Greg, don't forget this as well. In the United Methodist Church, you're talking about a split. African leaders have already split with the American leaders, not just on issues of this magnitude, not just because of this deviancy. We're talking about issues that are immigration issues, etc. I heard your monologue. Excellent, by the way. And our Orthodox Christianity, my friend, stands with what Donald Trump is doing, even as it relates to not allowing foreigners that are not vetted here. These are actually biblical principles. They're not political. They were biblical first, and now we're seeing them right in our mainstream. So no, we get it, and we look at individuals like that. That's unfortunate, but it's a joke, my friend.
Let me play another clip from him because I want people to see this. You know, at first you say, oh my gosh, this is so, but no, this is Christianity at stake. It's under attack, and it's under attack from within its own walls. And so this guy's name is Philip Phaneuf. I don't know what his new name is going to be as a woman because he's not one, but this is him again, roll cut 24.
We know that clothes are just fibers. They do not carry an anatomy with them. So to say that something is girls' clothes or boys' clothes, well, they don't come with a reproductive system. Amen? So what will change? My voice. It might go a tad higher.
Not amen. You know, Bishop Shines, you and I are not going and putting on a pink dress anytime soon.
No.
All right? Because there are boys and girls clothes out there. Your reaction to his comments there?
Well, Grant, again, forgive me for calling you Greg earlier. I was on another call with the Greg. But Grant, here's the bottom line. These are apostates. Again, that individual is part of the United Methodist Church. That particular Reformation in America is almost at nothing. They have gone down. They're losing thousands, literally thousands of churches per month. They're almost non-existent. Therefore, they're substituting Orthodox Christianity to bring in a false God, false belief for one purpose. They're hoping that they connect to the rest of secular society because their numbers are not here. The African leaders, Grant, have already divorced themselves from the American church in that regard because they're gone off the rail, my friend.
You know, we have a church like that in Dallas where I broadcast from. It's made a lot of news. They paint those, you know, you saw him wearing the rainbow flag, and it's so sad because that community has hijacked the rainbow. And I love a rainbow, just not on a church like that. And so what do we do, Bishop Shines, before I let you go? What can everybody out there do to make sure this doesn't infiltrate churches everywhere, your Catholic church, your Presbyterian church, all of them, your Baptist church? How do we make sure this doesn't infiltrate everywhere?
If you're a pastor, Grant, I don't care who you are, if your pastor is not dealing with issues of this magnitude, leave that church. That church is unfortunately backslidden, and it is away from the teachings of St. Paul, St. Peter, and the rest of these guys. It is no more a church than I am a car, simply because I go to your driveway and I stand where usually you may park. These are not churches. They're false narratives. And I beg your audience, please run from these individuals, run from these leaders. If they don't take a position, there are churches out that are fortunate. They're still speaking the truth in love as it relates to Christ and his teachings.
Well, it is so true. And I appreciate Bishop Aubrey Shines for coming on the program last night to talk about that. Does a far better job than me when it comes to biblical issues. But I try on that front. Lord Jesus, you know I try. I make my mistakes sometimes, but I do try. All right, folks. Hey, I want to tell you about my friends over at Energized Health. I want to bring on John Jubilee here in just a minute. He's the founder of Energized Health. I lost 15 pounds in 2 weeks on this protocol. Folks, I'm going to tell you, it's nothing short of amazing. Watch this little video, and then I'll bring on John.
I am tickled to death. I feel better than I have in years. I went from being on Ozempic for 13 years. I didn't realize how much strength I'd lost and how much it was affecting my life. I'd been in the hospital from pancreatitis caused by Ozempic. My digestive system's working properly again. I used to carry around Rolaids all the time. I can't believe I'm getting my life back after being subjected to that stuff for that many years. I'm off of it. I can't be happier. That was my biggest goal. You told me that you could help me, and you have.
John, 13 years on Ozempic? My Lord.
Yeah. Grant, and the worst part, if you picked up on it, it gave him pancreatitis, which, do you know, they warned you. It's on the warning label. It's on the commercial. You may get pancreatitis, which can kill you.
Wow.
People die of pancreatitis, Grant.
All right. So as everybody out there knows, John Jubilee is the founder of Energized Health. And pancreatitis, John, what exactly is that? Sounds horrible. Anything with itis at the end of it, I don't want it. But you add pancreas on top of it. What is that?
No, look, you have to have a pancreas to live. You have to have your pancreas to live. And when you get pancreatitis, it means your pancreas is beginning to shut down. And again, I just want to share this with people. This happens to be a very extreme case. And thank God this guy did not die. Because, you know, pancreatitis, again, you're about 2 steps away from death. But right on the warning label of the Ozempic, you know, it can destroy your pancreas. It can destroy your liver. It can destroy your digestive system. You ready for this one, Grant? You can go blind. Wow. There are people today that this past year went blind. They lost their vision forever just because they were trying to lose some weight. So that is the desperation, Grant. That's the desperation of people that go on Ozempic. They see the warning label. They warn them right on there that, hey, guys, here's all that you could go blind. Yeah. You could die. And people still say, hey, if I could just lose some weight, I'll risk my sight. I will risk my life.
All right. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, because I want to speak directly to people that everybody wants an easy fix, right? And so Ozempic they look at as an easy fix, but it's got all these side effects, including losing muscle mass, which as you get older, muscle mass is the key to your survival. I mean, you start to lose muscle mass, you're going to be dead in the water. But you'll lose weight quickly on Ozempic. How
100%.
quick? 100%, right? But how quick can you lose weight on Energized Health? I mean, I tell people I lost 15 pounds in 2 weeks. That's pretty darn good. And I wasn't 250 pounds. You know, I was about 205 and in decent shape, and I lost it very quickly. What's the average? Can people do this pretty quickly?
No, I am so glad you asked this. So we have a 28-year track record, 28 years, and we track it. So look here. So girls, you could lose 7 or 8. Our average, not our best. Grant, we've had women lose 20 of these in the 88-day protocol. They lose 20 of them. But we tell you the average person loses 7 to 8. So we're talking, by the way, we had a 70-year-old woman. Her husband bought it for her 70th birthday. She lost 90 pounds of fat, of this, guys, 90 pounds of this. When you go on Ozempic, you're not losing this. You're losing this, your lean muscle mass. Grant, look at these. These weigh the same. So this is why people, when they're losing this lean, healthy muscle on Ozempic, of course, guys, this weighs a lot. This weighs the same as this fat, by the way. So you're losing all this healthy muscle out of your body. And guys, you'll lose it fast. You'll lose it fast on Ozempic, but you're losing this lean, healthy muscle. You're not losing your fat. So I'm just telling you, look, you can lose 35, ladies, 35 to 40. Now, guys lose 50 to 70 pounds of fat in the 88 days. And that's just because they have more lean muscle mass. They lose it a little faster. But ladies, you can look at the testimonials on the website. We have women in their 70s that lost 70, 80, 90 pounds of fat in 88 days, and it's all fat. You're losing no muscle. You're not losing any muscle. You're gaining your muscle. You're gaining your hydration. When you go on Ozempic, you are losing this lean muscle. You're losing your hydration, and you are destroying your organs. Don't take the quick fix. Don't do something that could cause you to go blind or die.
Look, I'll add this to it as well. You're not putting synthetic garbage into your body either. And that's what Ozempic is. I mean, you're putting a drug into your body. You're not doing that. You're getting hydrated at a cellular level, and you turn around your diet a little bit, which isn't really that hard. You're not going on some crazy, the crazy Atkins diet or whatever. That's not about that. You're eating healthy, but it's not a big change. And you're taking your life back because, John, on top of losing the body fat and visceral fat, joint pain is going away. You tell me liver disease, pancreas disease has pancreatitis has gone away. You get mental focus, clarity, skin conditions clear up, all of that, right?
Yeah, Grant, this is what I love to tell people. And by the way, I'm our first client. I'm the first client of Energize Health. In 1997, I'll do the math for you, that 28 years ago, you can have your best health for the rest of your life. I never dreamed, Grant, that all my doctor visits were gone. Not one doctor visit in 28 years. I got stronger every year. How many of you would be excited to get stronger every year of your life? And that's not even your goal. I'm not even a workout guy. I'm just a health guy, but I did get stronger every year. I'm 65 years young. And Grant, I want to encourage people. I meet people on airplanes, Grant. It's so funny. They always say there's no blanking way you are 65 years old. Let me see your driver's license. And I laugh and they say, how is that possible? I say, I'm a grape. I'm not a raisin. The only reason we become raisins is because we lose our hydration, right? Yeah. A raisin is just a dehydrated grape. But you can lose your joint pain. You can get your vitality. You can gain back your lean muscle. You can have the metabolism you had when you were 17 years old. You just have to step into some new knowledge and do something a little different.
Well, like I said, it worked for me. I'm 74, and no, I'm not. I'm 56 years old, and I think I look good for 56 years old. Let me throw this one last little bit of information out there especially for the guys, but girls as well. Losing weight, getting healthy, building muscle mass. It's about survival as well, John. Most people don't talk about this, but I know people that are so overweight that if they had to run away from something. Look, I was at 9/11 when those buildings came down. If you had to run away from that, you can't run away. If you have to pull yourself out of an overturned car, you can't pull yourself out of an overturned car, and you're going to die in flames because you're too heavy. This is why you need Energized Health. It's not just to look good. It's also about the disease and all the stuff, but it's about survival. You could find yourself in a position where if you're not able to take care of yourself in a situation like that, you will die, John.
No, you know what, Grant? No, look, and on not quite life and death, but one of my 11-year-old twins driving like a wild man on the golf course. I was letting him drive the golf cart. He turned it too sharp on a slick piece of grass. The cart was tipping over. I mean, Grant, we were going to flip over. I stuck my leg out and just pushed as hard as I could and saved us from an accident in there. Why? Because I had the strength, to do it. So we never know what's going to happen in life where we need the strength to either prevent a serious injury, to prevent an accident, or to save our life. I love it that you mentioned that. It's about real life.
Well, you're turning people's lives around, and I'm so grateful for what you did for me and helping me as well. John, I'm going to tell people how they can find you and book a call. Thanks for coming on, as always.
Thanks, brother.
Absolutely, my man. All right, folks, so this is the deal. It's really easy. I want you to go to energizedhealth.com. I want you to go to the website and watch the masterclass. Learn about intercellular hydration, what it means to get hydrated at a cellular level. This is not just about pounding water. It's how you get those cells actually hydrated. This is science, and it's backed by science. And John has perfected this like nobody's business. Go there, watch the masterclass. And when you're done, then book a call, okay? Get on the phone. Don't wait, and make it happen, because it's time to take your life back. Energized Health helped me. They can help you too. EnergizedHealth.com. All right, so I hope you get something out of that, and I would get in touch with them. We're going to be updating the pipe bomber situation on the Real America's Voice show tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time. I urge you folks to follow us there. I believe we stream on Rumble too, the Real America's Voice show does. So you could check that out. Make sure you subscribe to the channel here. Make sure you hit the like button. A big thank you to the moderator, our moderator, Shelly Rose 777. God bless you for volunteering to do that. All of Stinchfield's Army, a big thumbs up to all of you. I mean it. Keep it rolling. We'll see you back here, not tomorrow, but Monday, but of course on the Real America's Voice show tonight.